Hey guys, welcome back to the Project B Ball Podcast. My name is Akarshin.
My name is Ryan Manangi.
And I'm Gokul Narayan.
So guys, for today's video, we're doing a two-part mini series about where we're listing the biggest strength and weakness of each NBA team that we feel right now, like weakness with their play on the court per se, or a strength on their play on the court. We're not going about if the team has a young core, has a high ceiling potential. We're not talking about a specific player. We're talking about as a group together and what we see as their biggest strength and what we see as their biggest weakness out of the group of players. We're gonna do the Western Conference for this video, and I think the next video we'll do the Eastern Conference. And this is gonna be more of a presenting style. We're not gonna debate here. We all beforehand work together and find out these biggest strengths and weakness. We're just gonna explain our opinions as we go on. So I'm gonna start off with the Los Angeles Lakers. I think their biggest strength is their fast and amazing paint presence. So they're a fast team, and they have so many big men, and they have LeBron. And they have a great paint presence. But their biggest weakness is their lack of playmaking. They just have LeBron, and they have washed up Rondo as their best two playmakers. After that, their playmaking kind of lacking. You guys have any opinions?
No, I agree with that. Let's move on. Next team, we'll go with the Denver Nuggets. Their strengths are amazing. They have great ball movement with Nikola Jokic and amazing guards. Their offense is extremely fast-paced. They shoot the ball a lot. And yeah, their weakness, however, is a lack of experience, as they're all mainly young players on the team.
Yeah. When we mean lack of experience, we mean more in it's not when we're. It's kind of a weird weakness because their roster is so it checks all the boxes, but when we're saying a lack of experience, because that's the only weakness we can give to them at this point that makes sense. Because on the court, they don't really have any weaknesses per se, but when they come to the playoffs, I think that's a problem with them. People like to say a team like the Clippers might not have the experience, but I think the Nuggets, to make a push, they need to be in the playoffs for another couple years, get that experience, then they can start making a finals push. Goku, would you agree with that?
Yeah, well said. So our next team on this list is Los Angeles Clippers. They have some really good strengths like explosive scorers in Lou Williams, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. However, they tend to rely on difficult shots because of their playmaking, so that's something they could really improve on.
Yeah, so I'm going to explain a little bit further, right? So when you have Lou Williams, Kawhi, Paul George, those guys are great scorers, difficult shot makers, and I think I saw a video on this on YouTube about someone explaining the Clippers' main weakness, which is the reliance on difficult shots. I kind of noticed it over the season. Their shots were sometimes they were leading to these ISO shots that sometimes were working and sometimes were not working, and this stems off a problem of them not having enough playmakers, so that they had to rely on difficult shot making. Akash and Goku, do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I do agree with that. But even when it comes to the difficult shots, they have people who can make them. So it's kind of a strength, but it's definitely a weakness as well, because a team shouldn't really rely on contested jumpers and stuff like that. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'll be I'm not sure how big of that problem is, because their difficult shot makers are some of the best in the league. But I think a game or here or two in the playoffs might cost them a series or something like that, right? With a bad shooting night.
Yeah, definitely.
The next team we have, the Houston Rockets. The biggest strength we thought of for them is their fast-paced offense with their 3-and-D players, and then their weakness is their reliance on the three-point shot. I think the reliance on three-point shot is pretty self-explanatory. We saw them against the Warriors last 2 years. The problem was they're taking too many threes, but that's also kind of their strength but this year they're much faster with Westbrook, and I think they got more of those 3-and-D players like DeMar Carroll. They have Jeff Green, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Jeff Green, they have Robert Covington, they have PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, Gerald Green, Austin Rivers. Now they have Harden and Westbrook, obviously, right? So they have a faster offense but I feel their biggest downfall will be if they're gonna hit their threes or not.
Yeah, we've seen on some nights they could be really cold, and their biggest strength just turns into weakness then. So yeah, definitely hurts and helps in both ways.
All right, let's move on to the Jazz. So the Jazz is kind of an interesting team as they're like a jack of all trades. It's kind of hard to think of a weakness for them because obviously defensively they got Rudy Gobert. They're amazing at defense. Offensively they have Donovan Mitchell. Their ball movement's good. Their offense is fast. Their defense is always great as well. But they're not like amazing at just one thing. Like the Clippers are amazing at scoring. They have like explosive scoring. You can tell you have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. But the Jazz are just like good scoring, good defense. So the jack of all trades comment applies as a strength as well as a weakness, in our opinion.
Yeah, to further explain on that, like, yeah, so they're good at everything, but not excellent at one thing, right? So that might be and that could also play into a weakness because they might not be as good at something that will help them win the game, but they're also good at everything else. So like, you can see where we're playing off here, right? Boko, do you have any comments on like the Jazz's jack of all trades?
Yeah,
style?
it makes sense, like what you guys said.
Okay.
So next on the list is the Dallas Mavericks. Their biggest strength is the pick and roll and offense with the shooters, but their weakness is that they rely too much on Luka Doncic. Kristaps Porzingis is like resurging slowly, like from his torn ACL in New York, but the Mavericks has shown that if Luka is not there, they're like one of the they can't handle the situation basically.
Yeah, I totally agree because like Porzingis, like Gogo was saying, is definitely injured, and they were relying on Luka a lot. But their strong suit or their strength, right? Their pick and roll offense. Whoever was setting the screen, like who are their centers? They had Dwight Powell or Maxi Kleber or Porzingis. That pick and roll was deadly. It was kind of hard to guard because those big men can also shoot, so it made it a little harder for teams to guard. And that was pretty much their whole offense. Their offense was built around the Luka pick and roll with their three big men that can shoot. So I feel like it's hard for a team to defend, and that's why they're doing so well this season because they have a great coach in Rick Carlisle. But also the weaknesses, we don't know how long Luka can maintain like this strong play in the playoffs because that's when the game gets more physical, tougher, and he has to play more minutes. So he could be tired. Karsh, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. They do have a major reliance on Luka. The stretch of games where Luka wasn't there when he was injured this season. How did they play? Do you guys remember? Off the top of your head, I don't think they played as good as they did.
They dropped a couple of spots in the stand.
From my memory, because I had Kristaps on my fantasy team, he was playing well without Luka, but like the team was lost.
Yeah, so they do rely a lot on Luka, which, I mean, obviously every team's gonna rely on their best player. But yeah, I do agree with those two reasons. So let's move on.
Okay. The next team is Oklahoma City Thunder. Their strength, in our opinion, is their strong offense with veteran leadership, and their weakness is consistent shooting. So, when you think of the Thunder roster, right, they don't really have a knockdown shooter except Gallo, and maybe you can call CP3 a knockdown shooter, but I wouldn't really say he's a knockdown shooter. But then they have like Shea, Dennis Schroeder. They have other like who's on the Thunder bench that you guys know? I'm blanking a little bit here.
The Thunder bench.
Hamuna Diallo.
Darius Blazley.
Terrence Ferguson.
Just a bunch of Terrence Ferguson. I forgot. You can probably count him as. Yeah, I said Gallinari.
But yeah, like you said.
Yeah. So you see the roster here, the shooting, you don't see like any consistent shooting per se.
But their bench actually has been playing, like, their bench isn't too bad though. Their bench is actually pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, there's another rookie named Laquise Dort. I don't think I pronounced his first name right, but whenever he's starting the Thunder, like undefeated or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
He's a great defender.
That dude's pretty good.
So, yeah. So they have the players, right? But the consistent shooting is like lacking because not any of them except Gallo is a knockdown shooter in my opinion. And then their strong offense with veteran leadership. When you have Steven Adams and Chris Paul, you're gonna have a great offense, and they do with their triple threat from point guard position with Shea, Chris Paul and Dennis Schroeder is one of the most deadly combinations in the league, and I think it's going to take them good places in the playoffs. Right? Depending on who they're playing, I think they could upset someone.
Yeah, they've already been a big surprise this season, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, with Chris Paul's veteran leadership, Dennis Schroeder, and a bunch of other guys, Dennis Schroeder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they definitely have a chance to upset someone. So yeah, let's move on. So next we have the Grizzlies, and the Grizzlies, their strength is their pick and roll offense with Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Those two play amazing in the pick and roll, and Jaren Jackson Jr. plays amazing. He's a great shooter as well, so he can even get the ball kicked out for three. Ja Morant, as you know, he's an amazing slasher. He can get to the paint with ease. And yeah, their disadvantage, which is not too bad, it's that they have an average defense. That's their disadvantage. So yeah.
Yeah, you could say it's their pick and roll offense with Ja is what is the bread and butter of the offense. And I think the bigger so I know people think their weakness is like shooting, but I think this season kind of proved that they don't really have that much problem with shooting. It's just like their defense is a little below average, and that's what's costing them some of these games. But they're really good team and have a great future ahead of them.
Yeah, true. Let's move on.
So next on the list is the Portland Trailblazers. Their strength is they have a really good explosive offense, but their problem is that they're not able to keep it consistent. Some games in a row, they have this huge win streak, and then other times they're falling a lot. So that's why I think they're 9th right now on the standings. But for a while they were a little bit above that, and then for a while they were like 13th. So they're really inconsistent.
Yeah, I definitely agree here. I think their inconsistency, it comes from their lack of chemistry, because like usually with Damian Lillard, if he has like a preseason or before season and his team stays the same, like if it doesn't get changed during the season, that team usually has good chemistry. But this year there's chemistry problems because like the whole team is kind of like injured and like new players are coming. So like it kind of messes with like the chemistry of the overall team. That's why the Trailblazers hasn't done well. But I think in the future, they're not going to be like a 9 seed anymore. I think next year they should go back to their 4th or 5th seed type wave. Yeah. Of course, you have any comments?
Yeah, definitely agree with you guys on that. But yeah, let's move on.
Okay, I got the New Orleans Pelicans, and I think their strong suit is their ball movement. They have so many different playmaker creators on that roster, and they all share the ball pretty well. Like Drew Holiday and Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, and then like other players on the rosters can play make. They move the ball around, and there's so many players on that roster that actually impact the game because of their ball movement. But their problem is their inconsistent defense. The reason why this is a bigger problem for them is because they have the actual personnel to play amazing defense. They have Lonzo Ball and Drew Holiday. That's one of the best defensive backcourts in the NBA, in my opinion, right? But then they have also Zion. They have Brandon Ingram, who are no slouches on defense either. I think Brandon Ingram needs to work on his defense a little bit more. Zion's a rookie, so he'll have to improve his defense. And their center position was Derek Favors or Jahlil Okafor. They're not getting much defense out of them, but they need to improve their defense because like their other positions can actually some of them are lockdown defenders like Drew Holiday. So I think that's something they need to work on in the offseason and get better in the camps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You guys agree?
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on. I'll go with the Kings. So the Kings, their strength is their good pick and roll offense with good shooters, and their weakness would be their consistent play. So as we see, Buddy Hield and De'Aaron Fox are amazing. De'Aaron Fox is an amazing slasher. You can always kick it out to Buddy Hield or some of their other players for their three-point shots. Buddy Hield, Bojan Bogdanovic, to be specific. And they also have a lot of good bigs that Buddy Hield can run the pick and roll offense with. But their weakness is their consistent play. As we saw this season, they were playing really good for some stretches, but other stretches they were veering off like outside of the playoffs. So, but I think in the future the Kings can definitely be a playoff team. But this season they didn't play that consistent.
Yeah, this season they kind of dropped off because last year they were like the 9th seed and everyone was hoping for them to make more of a run. They're like what, the 11th or 10th seed, wherever they are. I don't know if they're gonna make the playoffs this year, but I think they need their players healthy. That was a problem.
Yeah.
That can also factor into consistent play because when it's not the same faces around like De'Aaron Fox or Bodon or Buddy Hield, kind of makes it hard for them to have consistent play. When everyone's injured, people come back different games and stuff like that. That's a factor into consistent play, and this is what we're basing off that season. So I feel like injuries can have a problem with like people's consistent play and stuff. But their pick and roll offense with good shooters because they have De'Aaron Fox and whoever their big is or center, they can either kick it out to like Bielitsa or even Marvin Bagley can shoot the three a little bit, and then they have Buddy Hield and Bodon on the corners and they can shoot. So like they have a good offensive foundation, but they need to make sure their play is consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Nice. So moving on next, we have the San Antonio Spurs. Their strength is their ball movement. They have some really good guards in DeJounte Murray, Derek White, Marco Bellinelli, Patty Mills. But their weakness is their defense. I think they're like 25th or something like that. But yeah, and that's shown in their play this season. They're like currently the 12th seed. So yeah.
I think ball movement always been like a specialty of Greg Popovich as a coach. He's always emphasized that throughout his career. He has emphasized it in 2010. There's stuff about in the 2000s where he was the most boring coach ever, and then in the last decade, he changed his play into more of a fast-paced ball movement offense. But like that's something we all credit Greg Popovich for. Something else we all credit Greg Popovich for is his defense. But this year, it's been underwhelming, to say it least. Kirsch, you want to explain why their defense hasn't been that good this year?
Their defense hasn't been that good this year. There's a lot of factors. I personally haven't been watching too many Spurs games, but do you guys have a better idea of it?
I feel like it's personnel.
Yeah.
Would you say? Because like if you look at their roster, like DeJounte Murray, has he even played like the whole season?
No.
And then after that, all the other players are more offensive focused.
Yeah, that's true. DeMar is offensive focused. Lamarcus Aldridge is very offensively focused. Yeah, you're right. They don't have that many defensive anchors per se. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And DeJounte Murray has been injured for like most of the season, right? So like he just came back. So I think that's like all those factors will contribute into them having an average defense or below average defense. Because Goko said they're like 25th, which is kind of unbelievable when you have Greg Popovich as your coach. But it's just like the personnel they have. Our next team is the Phoenix Suns. They're an explosive offense with a pick and roll game. They have the pick and roll with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, or Devin Booker and Aaron Baines, and they have also Ricky Rubio, who's good in the pick and roll. That's like good foundation for the offense, and they have other plays that they use. But their problem is their consistent play. A lot of these teams towards the bottom, we keep seeing like consistency. Like there's problems with them is like they don't play well every game. That's why they're at the bottom of the league. That's what we can say, because like the Suns early in the season, what were they, like the 5th seed, 4th seed? Then they dropped completely, right? So they went back to Phoenix Suns' ways. We're all so surprised in the beginning of the season, and they dropped because of their inconsistency on the basketball floor.
Yeah.
You guys agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. The Suns are next, Renee. You want to take this?
Yeah, I already said the Suns.
Sorry. The Timberwolves are next. So the Timberwolves, as we know, they didn't make the playoffs this season. We were hoping they were going to do something big. Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins. They're obviously great players. Andrew Wiggins was traded later in the season. They acquired D'Angelo Russell. Played a couple games with them. season ended abruptly after that, so we didn't get to see too much of that duo. But in what we did see, we know that Karl-Anthony Towns is an amazing shooter, and it's great that he's a center that can shoot. Then now they have acquired D'Angelo Russell, also a great shooter, great passer as well. So their strength will be their shooting. Now, on the other hand, the weakness of the team would be their defense. We all know that Karl-Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell aren't particularly the best defenders. And yeah, so would you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say their defense is their problem because like they don't have the defensive personnel on their roster. And I think this is something they have to slowly improve over time. I don't like how this team is going. It should have been better and better, but they keep getting worse and worse. Trading Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Now they're tied for like the best odds for their first overall pick. I don't know. I feel like Towns' career is getting wasted there.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Goko, you want to?
Next we have the Warriors. Their strength would be the explosive offense with ball movement in their young core, with Kai Bowman, Eric Paschal, Jordan Poole. And their weakness would be their inconsistency. Like we've seen games that they get blown out completely, but then there's like times that you can see they're trying their best to sustain with all the injuries, and they're able to win a couple of games. So definitely inconsistent there.
Yeah, I definitely agree because like the Warriors are the worst team in the league. But like as we keep saying down, like these bottom teams, they're just not consistent enough with their play, right? So that's like their major problem. And like especially with the Warriors, I see sometimes they win random games and they're all on their full potential. Like Eric Paschal dropped like 35 points, or Jordan Poole has a good game, or Ty Bowman has a good game, right? And they win that game, but then for the next 10 games they lose all of them because they're inconsistent. They need to find a consistent play. I think when they get their players back, Curry and Clay, obviously, and then they'll be better. And they also got Andrew Wiggins. I would like to see how they're going to use him, or they're going to move him in off season. We don't know what exactly they're going to do. But go as a Warriors fan, do you feel like, what was your impression on the season? Do you really care about it? Do you think it's a good stepping stone for something else?
The only thing that I can think of
think?
is this kind of a blessing in a way with the chance for the first pick. The players did their best to take this season as just like an opportunity to play out, because obviously when next year, when the star players come back, the playing time is gonna change a lot. But I just like I knew the outcome would be they wouldn't make it, so I was just excited to see the play of these young players, and it was pretty impressive at times. But yeah.
Yeah, the Warriors have a good reputation with their young players. They always are able to coach these players, even when like their first impression of the season was, oh, they're gonna go out with Curry. Curry's gonna be playing, so they weren't really looking to breed in those young players, but they've really done good with these young players that they have right now. So that was a really good job by them. They were expecting to make the playoffs, and then when the situation turned, their young players, they were able to coach them into playing so good, and their young players were extremely talented, the ones that they had on the team. So really amazing stuff from the Warriors.
Yeah, I feel like I've been saying this for a while. I think I said it on an episode earlier in this podcast. I said it like the Warriors this season's a blessing in disguise. They have tied for the most odds to get the first overall pick. They can get it, they can trade it, or they can do a lot of stuff. The roster is also flexible now too, so they have these young players. They can put them in some trades, get better players, try to win now, or they can try to win for the future. With Clay and Curry, I don't think they're going to decline too much towards the end of their career. I feel like their production might dip, but like their players themselves, they can probably still drop like a random 30-point game here and there, right? But like their production might dip just because of their age. But like as players, I don't see like their shooting going away or something like that, right? So they can build for the future a little bit here. They can continue in Dynasty if they want. Yeah. I think if you guys have any final thoughts, then we're gonna end this video, and we're gonna do the Eastern Conference ones for the next video.
I don't really have any final thoughts on this. I thought it was a good list overall. We all worked together on it, so obviously we all agree on everything. But if you guys have any disagreements, please make sure to leave them in the comments, and yeah, we'll definitely look over them. So, yeah.
Yeah. If you guys leave a comment like right now, I would if there's like basketball related, I would we would reply to them. Most of the times, like we would try to reply to them, but like any support comments, we're gonna
Yeah,
heart them
definitely.
and all
And
that.
if you guys have any
So,
ideas for videos we can make, just list it too. So yeah.
Yeah, we would definitely love to do any videos you guys would like us to do. Just explain us the idea, and we can go on to record it. So that's gonna be the end of this episode. We're gonna record the Eastern Conference ones right after this. But
Bye.
thank you guys for listening.
Bye.
Bye.